Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Clean Bowl podcast for another episode with me, Sab, as we review the second test at the Oval between New Zealand and England, where New Zealand levelled the series with a dominant win over England to level the series at 1-1, setting up a enthralling final test, but lots to talk about on today's episode. So we're going to review the test that's happened, but also going to have a look at the third test, where that all-important, all-deciding match will take place at Trent Bridge in just a few days' time. But before we get into that, guys, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the share button as well, and of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all the support that we've had so far, but much more content to come, so make sure you subscribe. So let's start with a review of the second test between England and New Zealand. This was at the Oval. I mean, so much has happened. It's been a crazy fortnight in the world of cricket, but especially in the world of English cricket. So much has happened. Obviously, I've talked kind of at length at the Stokes and Gus Atkinson nightclub incident. That's kind of been put to bed now by the ECB. Obviously, we'll come on to that. But that's the start of all this. England, big win at Lord's. Same day is the nightclub incident. Gus Atkinson and Stokes are suspended for this match. Ollie Robinson misses out with an injury. Jamie Smith misses out due to the birth of his second child. So there's a whole host of changes for England. They bring in some debutants like Sonny Baker, James Rue, Matt Fisher comes back after a 4-year gap, and Jofra Archer playing his first test. He obviously didn't play in the first test controversially because of the IPL, but anyway, he came back in. So New Zealand unchanged. Well, I say unchanged. One big change. New Zealand, one big change, the retirement of arguably the greatest ever test batsman, Kane Williamson, with Henry Nicholls coming back in. So changes for both teams, England obviously having the more of the changes. So, and of course Joe Root coming back as captain as well. So he had a difficult task. But yeah, it was a completely dominant victory for New Zealand in the end. They won by 253 runs. So they have now levelled the series. Yeah, where to start? I mean, obviously, firstly, a much better pitch that they played on, but England were just outclassed in this game. And I think there can be a lot to be said about the kind of strategy and the way England have approached this game. It really seems that there's a lot of chaos surrounding the English team at the minute. It's a little bit all over the place. This is not a settled team. It's all a bit too kind of up and down. It's a bit of a roller coaster. It appears a bit of a shambles, actually, especially off the field, with the situation as it is, with what's happened with Stokes, with him kind of going to Durham then. Anyway, we will come on to that in a second. Let's get into the game. So New Zealand were put in by England on the first day. And look, they found it quite a bit of a struggle initially, but eventually they pulled their way up to 391 all out, backed by a fantastic century by Glenn Phillips. He played fantastically well. But there were contributions all around. On Blundell, the wicketkeeper, who had a fantastic game as well. Not enough credit will go to him for how well he played with the gloves. Most of that will go to Matt Henry, which is deserved. But Tom Blundell had a fantastic game. He scored 51. Darryl Mitchell, 44. Starts for Ravindra. He scored 33. Henry Nicholls, 24 in his return to team. Latham, the captain, he's got 27. Kyle Jamieson with 41. So contributions, but anchored by that brilliant century by Glenn Phillips. They were 188 for 5 at one stage when Darryl Mitchell was taken. When he was out? So you think England may have had the slight edge at that stage, but after that, yeah, coming into day two, England were all over the place, as they so often are. Actually, it's a bit of a theme with England is that they don't seem to kind of, when they get the initiative, they don't seem to, as I said, they're not ruthless enough. They don't take advantage of good positions, and they let the opposition back in. which is exactly what they did. They were so wayward with the bowling, and England have some weird obsession with when they're bowling at the tail or lower order batsmen. They don't just bowl at the stumps. They don't bowl Yorkers. They don't bowl threatening deliveries. It's all short pitch stuff, and it never works. Never has worked and never will work. Then they get tonked around, and then the opposition end up adding many more runs than England need to give away. So yeah, a very poor performance on day 2, and actually I think England conceded 53 extras. I've just got his screen in front of me. 53 extras. It's crazy how many. 22 byes. James Rew had a horrible game. Actually, I feel very sorry for him coming in, but he had a horrible game with the gloves, and he really, really struggled. But yeah, 22 byes. So that sort of tells the story. 20 leg byes, 8 wides, 53 extras is just too many at this level. You think, New Zealand nearly got 400, and 53 of those were extras. A very disappointing performance for England, and they dropped a whole host of catches as well. That's what happened in Lords with New Zealand. They dropped several catches, which probably cost them the game. This is probably where England may have lost this game. Certainly one aspect. They were very poor in the field, especially on day 2. They really allowed New Zealand. Once New Zealand got to 391, you really felt that they were in the ascendancy and they were the team on top. And they didn't really look back from there, New Zealand. England, in their first innings, did not bat with any kind of sustained fluency. Not many contributions there. Emilio Gay scored 53, so that's 2 50s in a row for him. He does look like one of the positives for England. He looks like a much assured, classical, old school batsman, which is actually exactly what England need at this point. They've had a lot of chaos there at the opening start with Ben Duckett and Zach Crawley, who failed to sort of deliver and failed to deliver on his potential and promise. But Emilio Gay for now looked a good solid opener, a good choice that they brought in. So back-to-back 50s, he top scored in England's first innings. So you can't really say anything other than that. I mean, Joe Root, 46, and then Matthew Fisher, he scored his maiden Test 50. So congratulations, we've had to finish 50 not out at the end. But look, New Zealand bowled fantastically well and blew England away, really. 291, that was just because of a little partnership at the end between Sonny Baker and Matthew Fisher to drag them up to 291. But yeah, they were 238 for 9 at one point. So the deficit would have been even bigger. But obviously New Zealand went in with a 100-run lead. Matt Henry, he bowled extremely well. 5 wickets for 80 runs he got from his 24 overs. So that was a fantastic event, and he bowled magnificently. He was so good with the ball, and in fact, one of the things that he was so good at was that this tactic that New Zealand employed, especially to Joe Root and Harry Brooks, was to have Tom Blundell stand up to them. Both batsmen like to bat out of their crease. Harry Brook in particular likes to come down the wicket, likes to charge batsmen, so that really negated his attacking style. And both batsmen didn't really have much of an answer for this kind of tactic. And as I said, Tom Blundell had an amazing game. When you have a bowler like Matt Henry who's bowling relatively quickly, to be able to stand up, it's not easy, And they actually asked, it's very similar to Alex Carey, what he did in the Ashes that worked to such good effect off the bowling of Scott Boland. But when they asked about this tactic in the post-match presentation, Matt Henry actually said that no, they actually tried this a few years ago when England came to New Zealand. And they sort of worked out then that, look, Harry Brook likes to come out of his crease, so maybe if we, cramp him up and, don't give him the space that he likes, he may not know exactly what to do. And they tried that tactic again, and it worked to great effect as he got them both out in both innings. So, yeah, brilliant bowling performance by New Zealand. 100-run lead, and then they went to the second innings. And, yeah, they put on a good show. I mean, look, they were 28 for 2 at one point when Devon Conway was dismissed. So you might have thought, look, England may have a chance if New Zealand claps it, but that was never going to happen because everybody really contributed with the bat again. Rachin Ravindra, he's had a difficult time so far, mainly with in the field with drop catches, but he scored a very good 76. But the star of the show was Henry Nicholls, obviously huge shoes to fill with replacing the great Kane Williamson. But got to remember, Henry Nicholls has played quite a few Test matches. He's played a lot of Test matches. He's an experienced batsman, so he really showed his class and why New Zealand cricket appears to be in good hands with him at number 3. He scored a magnificent 121. Number 3. But Godfrey Dal Mitchell, he just keeps going. Rolls Royce 68. He scored. Nathan Smith down the order got a valuable 38. So New Zealand actually finished on 362 runs. So look, they set England a mammoth total to win. And even the most ardent of England fans would have thought this is probably beyond them, even though they've seen some good chases in the Bazball era. Yeah, I mean, under this particular England team with this particular batting lineup, I don't think many would have given them a hope in hell. They folded pretty quickly in the bat. I mean, they were 40 for 3 one stage, and he had a good little batting partnership. He had a good partnership between Harry Brook and Joe Root. They looked like they were batting with a decent amount of freedom, the usual selves, but again, that man again, Matt Henry, was superb. The way he got Brook out and the way he got Root out was, just a sensational display of fast bowling, again, in tandem with Tom Blundell. All England's hopes, and when I say hopes of drawing the game, rested on Joe Root, the interim captain. But he did not last long at all. In fact, the entire fifth day was done under an hour, 45 minutes or so. England were completely blown away by a sensational bowling spell by Matt Henry. He took 5 wickets for 3 on the final day. Joe Root and Josh Rocher within the same over, he was on a hat trick at one point. Yeah, he blew England away, and they finished on 209 not out. So a huge win for New Zealand, 253 runs. They go into the third and final test this week on Wednesday at Trent Bridge in very, very good spirits. And fantastic from New Zealand. I think this really sums up who they are. They don't give up. They're such a team that embodies togetherness. We don't, and to their, almost underrating them. We always underrate them, because of the size of the country. You think about the resources that they don't have compared to an England or Australia and India, maybe even a South Africa. This is such a small country, a small populace, but they always produce fantastic cricketers. We've spoken about them before in the ODI, in the white ball format. They always manage to make semi-finals and finals. So an amazing sort of sporting culture is bred into their athletes, and it's incredible to see how they can just continually do this. They are, almost greater than the sum of their parts. In fact, they all come together and they do not give you an inch. They fight all the way, and a really, really amazing win. Yes, England were unchanged, and there was a lot of weak points with debutants in the England team, but we can't take anything away from New Zealand. That is not their problem. It's not their fault. They can only play what's in front of them, and it was a fantastic win. And to show up this way after what happened in Lords, where the pitch was horrendous, to really come in, and Matt Henry, who missed a lot of the Lords sets with back spasms, to really show how good a bowler he actually is. That short ball tactic, they really did a number on England. They were the dominant team, and they were far superior in pretty much every department to England, which is why they won. So they'll be in good spirits. And look, the fact that they wrapped it up so quickly on day one, it means that they will be able to get to Nottingham quicker, an extra days of rest, more preparation. So they will go into that test in good spirits. And look, even though England are going to make changes, which we'll come on to, New Zealand will not be fazed by that, because I think even in the Lord's Test, New Zealand were in the game for large amounts. It was their catching that really let them down on that occasion, which probably could have brought a much closer result, and they were flummoxed by a completely, crazy pitch, which we won't expect to see in Nottingham. It's going to be boilingly hot, apparently. It's going to mid-30s the temperature's meant to be. So let's see. But I think New Zealand look in good shape. They've got such a good balance to the team. Again, look, for Henry Nicholls to come back in and to replace the great Kane Williamson at such short notice is not an easy thing, and not big shoes to fill. So fair play to him for coming on a brilliant century. And then, Rachin Ravindra finding some form with the bat. Darryl Mitchell, he's always, as I said, he's a Rolls Royce. He keeps doing his thing. Kyle Jamieson has looked fantastic. He's had injury problems, but he's looked good with the ball as well. So does Nathan Smith. So there's so much to like about this New Zealand team. Now, obviously, we'll come on to the third test, but England, Joe Root is one of the probably it's a rare thing, in this day and age, but he's a universally loved cricketer, I think, because of what he's achieved. In this test, it was a milestone test for him. He was captain again, but he did cross 14,000 runs. And obviously he is only the second man in the history of the game, the men's game, to achieve that feat. And he's sits just behind the great Sachin Tendulkar now. So, the debate rages on of will he and when will he cross Sachin's record. And there was a debate of where he lies in the pantheon of greats of English and world cricket. That's a debate for another time. But yeah, I've always had a feeling with England would sometimes, like, if Joe Root gets out early, the rest of the team will just completely collapse. And that's happened so many times that England have been reliant on Joe Root. And again, he couldn't quite deliver for his team. Look, he scored 46 in the first innings and 77. He did as much as probably he could have. But no real support. I mean, Harry Brook did get 58 but in the second innings. But yeah, look, this was a pretty average England side, you have to admit. And look, you've got some newcomers in there, and this is an entirely different team. An entirely different team in the middle order anyway. When you look at the team that played at Lords, you've got, usual Ben Duckett, Emilio Gay, Jacob Bethel, Joe Root, Harry Brook, fine. But then James Root, Jordan Cox, Jofra Archer, Matthew Fisher, Josh Tongue, Sonny Baker. There's a lot of newcomers there, a lot of inexperience in there. And yeah, some of these guys are just not great batsmen in Test cricket. There's a lot of inexperience there. It just wasn't a good performance. And you sort of worry now, England, really, when we look forward, the depth that England have. You look at maybe Australia or India are good examples. If India, for example, especially in their white ball team, even in their test team, if one or two can't make it, it's okay because you've got great people in the wings to come in. You look at their setups and you look at who isn't getting games. Now, obviously, India have got such a huge populace to pick from, so they are, blessed in that area. But England in this thing, there seems to be no sort of planning as to who's coming in. James Root had a bit of a horror show with the gloves. Could Jordan Cox have kept instead? It just sort of seeing, who's available, who can we pick? Okay, he's free, yeah, bring him in. It actually made England look a very average team, and they played like a very average team. And it's not what they wanted, especially with everything that's happened off the field. So yeah, really disappointing. Disappointing for Joe Root. He hasn't got a great record as captain. So yeah, it's worrying times for England. But let's have a look at the preview for the third and final test at Trent Bridge. If you haven't heard, Ben Stokes and Gus Atkinson are reinstated in the squad. They were playing for their counties, then withdrawn from their counties. Ben Stokes is going to return as captain. Gus Atkinson is returning, so everything is fine, all normal. We're all good again. All our friends. Slap on the wrist, kind of. They've been received written warnings about their future conduct, but that's it. They're back in the squad. All a bit of the farce. I did say in my last video that I think Ben Stokes should go. Some people agreed with that. Some people really didn't agree with that, which I expected to be. Look, it wasn't trying to get any attention. I generally still maintain that I think Ben Stokes should have been relieved of the captaincy for this. But, I also expected the ECB to make this decision. So, look, he is back. So there's no point going on and on about what should and how should happen. We all have our opinion on that. But he is back. He's back in the 15-man squad. They have released Sonny Baker, James Root, and Henry Crockham. So yeah, you've got to feel for James Root and Sonny Baker. They brought him for this test and immediately dropped. The ECB have concluded that they weren't involved in any instance. Stokes didn't witness anything himself. It concluded that no blame should be attached to the players of violent conduct at the nightclub. Stokes was not involved in the altercation and did not witness either incident. I'm not sure how many incidents we're talking about. But it's fine. Apparently, Gus Atkinson was not even aware that there was a curfew. Ben Stokes didn't think the curfew applied to that particular game or when they'd won or whatever, So under their impression, they could drink as much as they want and punch as many people as they wanted to. But it is what it is. There's still some questions about the relationship with McCullum and Stokes. All doesn't seem well if you look from the outside looking in. all seems a bit frosty. McCullum didn't really back Stokes at any point in any of his press conferences. He kept talking about, we're all concerned about Ben's mental health. How's he doing? I just want him to be okay. But other people saying, well, he seems fine. He's scored 92 for Durham. So, yeah, we're none the wiser. And there's a lot to be answered, but I don't think we're going to get any more answers of now. But obviously, Ben Stokes is going to have to do a press conference in the next couple of days, and they'll be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that because he's going to get a barrage of questions. Anyway, this is the England squad for the third test. Ben Stokes, Rehan Ahmed, Jofra Archer, Gus Atkinson, Shoaib Bashir, Jacob Bethel, Harry Brook, Jordan Cox, Ben Duckett, Matthew Fisher, Emilio Gay, Ollie Robinson back, Joe Root, Jamie Smith, and Josh Tongue. Jacob Bethel, interesting one. He is really, really struggling at the minute, and obviously he's like the new golden boy of England cricket, but he is really, really struggling at the moment. So I predict England will go with the same team almost that won at Lords. Maybe Jofra Archer returns, or are they going to play Shoaib Bashir finally and play with a spinner? Obviously, Ben Stokes is going to play. Now, look, here's the thing. Whether or not you agree with Stokes returning or this, that, and the other, whether or not he should be captain, look, he is captain now. But one thing I think this did tell us, particularly from the second test, it's the depth. When you scratch the surface and you take Stokes out of the team, even take Gus Atkinson out of the team, you're looking at a very average team. You know, what's next? Who's next? Who's the next Ben Stokes? Who's the next big all-rounder of the team? Jofra Archer, you know, he really should become, he should be a great of the team. You know, what he can do with the ball, genuine pace, genuine electric bowler. When the buzz and that, you know, the excitement that was around him when he first came, and that first Ashes that he had in 2019, and that spell to Steve Smith, and all of these things, and it's just, you know, he's been mismanaged so badly. You just wonder now, are we ever going to see that version of Jofra Archer the older he gets? And obviously they want to manage his workload. I don't know if he's going to play in this match, to be honest. If Ollie Robinson's coming back, if Gus Atkinson is back, you know, they're going to go with that 4 pace of Matthew Fisher is in there. So it'll be interesting to see who actually plays. Are they going to play spinner, especially if it's going to be so hot outside? Are they going to, you know, try and give a rest to the seamers by giving some overs to Bashir finally? You know, he keeps getting picked but never getting a chance to bowl. And then there's Ben Stokes as well. What's his body like? You know, he obviously scored 92 for Durham in the week. So is that going to, you know, free him up, and will we finally see a return to the old Ben Stokes? Because his batting has declined severely in recent time. You know, that's been one of the talks as well. You know, the form of his batting it's been in a rapid decline for quite some time now. So it'll be very interesting to see. I do foresee, there will be changes without a shadow of a doubt, obviously, because they have enforced that. I do think Jofra Archer might miss out, and you'll see pretty much the same team that played up in Lords. Ben Duckett's form has kind of tailed off a little bit. He's, you know, hasn't had the same heat that Zach Crawley has had. Jacob Bethel as well. Obviously, he opted to play in the IPL and didn't really do much in the IPL, to be honest with you. So he's struggling for form, for rhythm, for test match batting. We know what he's capable of, but he's looked way short of it so far in this series. Joe Root is Joe Root. I don't need to say much about him. And Harry Brook, you know, he will deliver as well. Jamie Smith, again, he'll be in and out of rhythm as well. How much has he played? Obviously, he didn't have a very good winter, didn't have a very good Ashes. So a lot of question marks about England, and I wonder if New Zealand were to win this test and to win the series 2-1, is that it for Brendan McCullum? There's a lot riding on this match. This is a huge, huge match in the context of a lot of things, because it seems very similar to when Joe Root was captain, when they got thrashed, as they always do in Australia. They didn't sack everybody, they kept on, but then there was like another limp defeat, I think, to the West Indies immediately after, and then that was the kind of point, right, enough is enough. England's recent record is not great. I think they've only won like maybe 6 matches or something in the last however many, but they've not got a good record. They've not won many tests recently as well. This was their 3rd defeat at the Oval in a row. They lost to India last year in that famous test, and they lost to Sri Lanka back in 2024. So, yeah, it's not a good record, and now teams are coming to England and winning with a lot more regularity than they used to. England haven't lost a series at home for a while. But, yeah. And look, even if they win, it would only paper over the cracks. It was a shock that they even kept the job in the first place. But, if they were to lose this game, I think that'll be curtains for Brendan McCullum and Rob Kew, who are lucky to still be in the job, especially after this Ben Stokes. It just seems very shambolic and very chaotic. And England do this in their history. They go through these shambolic and crazy periods, and we're living in one right now. Obviously, for pundits and analysts and commentators and editors and journalists, it's extremely amazing content because we get to talk about it all the time. But if you're a cricket fan of England, you're not going to be enjoying this because it's just chaos and more chaos in its way. But it does make for entertainment. You got to say that they are an entertaining team on and off the field. But yeah, with Ben Stokes happening, are we going to see a renaissance from him? But look, they're up against a very good team. New Zealand are a really, really good team, as we've spoken about. So, yeah, I'm going to put New Zealand as favourites. They should really come and think. Look, there's a lot to capitalise on. I think New Zealand are favourites for this because of the momentum and there's just a lot of chaos. But this England team seem to thrive on chaos as well. But they can't do that forever, and it's just going to produce results of this. And I think the English public, fans of the England cricket team, are fed up of seeing just too much chaos and too much madness happening within the team. So I think it seems like we're heading towards the inevitable. That is a parting of ways between England and their coach, maybe even their director of cricket, Rob Key, as well. But yeah, Stokes rolls on. How long he's captain remains to be seen. So obviously after this, they've got Pakistan later on in the summer. But yeah, if they were to lose, man, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Is there another reset? Or do they just soldier on? But it'll be really interesting to see. I can't see how Brendan McCullum stays. How there's got to be major changes if they don't win this series, and there's going to be real pressure. Because there's not a huge amount of pressure on New Zealand. They will want to win. Obviously, I'm not saying because it's they're a smaller team or anything like that. I don't mean that. The spotlight and everything is on England, which I think favours New Zealand as well. They prefer to go in, just do the thing, focus on the cricket. They were stupidly asked by Jonathan Ague about, what do you think about this going on with the England cricket team, or have you been following it? And he was pushing Ton Latham and Matt Henry for answers like, come on, don't drag them into this, don't drag them into your mess. Their captain is not going out doing what the England captain has done, so leave them out of this. They're here to play cricket, and that's what they've done very well in the second test, and I expect more of the same from them. So it's going to be a really interesting game. My prediction at the start of the series is that New Zealand will win the series. I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to say New Zealand to win the third test. But hey, I've been wrong before, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be really interesting, guys. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Give this one a like, give it a share. Let us know what your thoughts are. What do you think of the second test? What do you think is going to happen in the third test? Are you happy to see Ben Stokes back? Are you happy with the team? What do England need to do differently to win the series? And what happens if they should lose this match? Let me know in the comment section. Of course, subscribe to the channel as well. This has been the Clean Bowl Podcast. I've been Sab. We'll see you next time.